and welcome to Contrast. I'm your host, Lexi Tenney, joined by our other hosts, Peter Del Tondo and Mike Jones. I want to give a little bit of an introduction to Contrast, why we're here, what we're doing. We have a goal here of inspiring others wherever they're at on their design journey, because contrast is kind of what makes our world go round here in this industry. We are different designers from different places with different opinions, and hopefully we'll kind of dig into the nitty-gritty in just a little bit. But before we get started, anything fun coming up this weekend for you two?
Picking this guy up at the airport on Friday.
Let's go.
Yeah, Mike's coming out and then surprise his son, and we'll hang out and probably record some content and stuff this week.
That's great. I look forward to seeing how many ridiculous things I can get you two to do for social media.
Kelly's working on all the trends of oh, you guys need to do this video.
I'm in. I don't care what it is.
Kelly's the homegirl.
I'm in.
Yeah, you say that now, but we'll see when we actually get down to it.
It's happening.
I love it. We are going to kind of start today off talking a little bit about each of our journeys as designers. I'm going to jump right in because I am the newbie here. I'm the young grasshopper, totally new to this industry, have not worked at an agency before Heyo. I did some stuff on the side as kind of a, hey, we need someone to design something and you have a computer, let's throw you in there. And I just,
a lot of us got started.
I think it's more common than we realize.
For sure.
I fell in love with just the process of it. And luckily I had people along the way to kind of say, hey, maybe don't do that. That font is a bad choice. Let's clean that up. Where were you guys when you first received maybe some constructive criticism? Can you remember back to that point?
I just think back to my first design job, something I got something for, right? I remember it was in college and I did some menus for this chicken finger beer place down the road, right? He's like, hey, draw me some menus, make me a t-shirt. And I made $150 and I got a keg of beer for the fraternity house. It was awesome. That was the payout, right? And I was like, yeah, design, this is awesome, but that was the first kind of okay, you can do this. So I don't know. That's kind of where it kind of started, I guess. How about y'all?
I think I had the same kind of thing. I think my very first project was $150. I did branding in Photoshop of all apps. And then that included the website, which was, just a WordPress theme customization kind of thing. And I probably spent 4 weeks on this thing. It was so much time. And I remember breaking down my hourly and I was like, oh, I made 70 cents an hour. Project, yeah, but you got to start somewhere and go from there. But when you mentioned getting feedback on stuff, it reminded me, it was actually shortly after I met Mike at Creative South, and we were in a little designer Skype group, and I had designed something one day. I shared it with the group, and I got, oh yeah, this is great, etc. And then my wife came home and was like, ooh, you posted that to Dribble? Maybe don't post that again. And I was like, okay, I know this group will not give me real feedback again. And I never shared anything with them. So it's important to find people that will give you real feedback and not just tell you what you want to hear and make you think things are really good when it's kind of crap. And you should probably get some better mentors and advice on stuff.
Every time.
That is great advice. That I think it's very easy to find an echo chamber of everyone just telling you that everything you're making is good and it looks great and it functions how it's supposed to. I think it's pretty smart to find some people who will look at it with critical eyes and say, hey, you're headed in the right direction maybe, but we've got to fine tune this. I think that's a really good piece of advice.
People still do that.
Yeah, that circle you surround yourself with is vital.
All day long.
I'm going to transition us real quick to Peter. How did you get started designing? You said your first design gig was $150 for 4 weeks, which is severely underpaid. But what kind of inspired your passion for design?
I think it's just one of those things I always grew up doing a little bit of. I think most of us, we had some copy of Photoshop and stuff that we learned off of back in the day. And I grew up a gamer, and so I was the one that would make the guild or clan backgrounds and avatars and stuff like that for, Counter-Strike and World of Warcraft. And I got into running a video game server hosting and website hosting company when I was in high school. And through that, a lot of people needed websites. So I started figuring things out in like Dreamweaver and Photoshop and whatnot. And really just did it because it was fun and I enjoyed it. Went off to school. I went to the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. I got injured there, and when I was on medical leave for a year, I was back home and got a job at managing a gym facility. And all of a sudden, I started to realize like I'm making more money doing these super amateur website designs on the side than I am as a manager at a health club. Like maybe I should dive into this a little bit more and maybe see about making a career out of it. And I remember I made a recommendation to my brother to actually go to design school. And my now wife, I can't remember if I think we were just dating at the time. We were walking down kind of like a movie promenade kind of place. And I saw an ad for FITM out in LA and sent it to my brother of like, hey, you should go check this out and maybe apply. And then like, I want to say within 2 weeks, I applied there and made that transition. And I loved it because it was all design school. I didn't have to take, second languages. I didn't have to do math
Must
and
be nice.
science and, all these things that are like irrelevant to the career that you want. It was good. It allowed me a good foundation of things. Yeah, kind of got into that and then met Mike shortly after. And our lives have forever been changed since.
Mike Jones.
You can say that again, brother.
I think it's interesting to hear you say, as a designer, part of the reason you went to design school was to avoid math and science, because I think that's a common thread. I think a lot of us were trying to run away from some of those more boring subjects. Sorry to the math and science lovers. But yeah, I very much relate to the I don't want to go to school and have to sit through an algebra class. I just want to make stuff look cool.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays you can learn anything. I mean, even my little kids, if there's something they want to learn about, I mean, we can go on YouTube or we can find online courses and they become like these subject matter experts in whatever they want to learn. And I know that really changed my view of education because I grew up with the you've got to have a degree and you got to go do your 4 years in college and whatnot. And you realize how many people are graduating and going in debt to you only learned a little bit of a career that you may go into versus, go into a service-based industry or, whether you want to learn a trade or whatnot, go all in. Honestly, if I could go back and do it different, I wouldn't go to design school. I would go find a designer that I really admire.
100%.
I would literally pay them to, hey, let me be your apprentice and shadow you and just, kind of teach me as you go. Design school, I tried petitioning a couple classes because some of them literally were just reading off of free online tutorials. And I was like, this is a scam. I should be paying for
this. Is garbage. Yeah.
I didn't win that petition, but yeah, that's what I would go back and do now for sure. But, I still learned a lot, made some good connections and, here today, I guess.
Honestly, that's a really good method that maybe we should start adopting, kind of like plumbers or, electricians. Maybe have an apprenticeship type program where you get in with, somebody that's been designing for 20, 30 years and you are their apprentice and you grow through that. I think it'd be a really interesting way of looking at design education moving forward. Seems to be a lot of design education is changing lately, but I think having more than one mentor is also really smart because you're getting different views from different people and different industries. Or they've been doing it in different ways. Some might be, agency, some might be, corporate America. It just depends on where they landed, but you're going to get different views from all of them. So try to get into all the little nooks and crannies of what design is across the board to be a more well-rounded designer.
Absolutely. And that's been my experience. I was originally given the chance to be mentored by a lot of you at Heyo.
Yeah, before you came on.
Yeah.
We were just we like you. We want to find a way to get you here. So we're going to mentor you so we can hire you.
Which is awesome. I would hope that worked twofold of being great on both sides. I got to learn from so many different styles of designer in such a condensed amount of time. And I think that's another thing, right? Is if you are someone who's trying to get out there in the space, if you're following one designer, that's great and you're going to learn a lot from that person, but it's going to be hard to separate out what parts are you and what parts are them. Whereas if you're gleaning from a bunch of different places, I think you're going to be a more well-rounded designer at the end of the day.
Oh, for sure.
Oh,
For
hands
sure.
down. Yeah.
I
I mean, it's one of those, like, you can't be afraid to just ask.
Yeah.
But it's like, we see this a lot at Creative South, where folks might ask us or might ask others, you know, hey, how do you find a mentor? Could you mentor me? And, you know, I think it's go in and build a relationship with people, go build that friendship to where, you know, even recently as we were starting the podcast here, like, how many people did Mike hit up and go, hey, could you help us out? Like, I'll pay for your time. And they're like, no, we're friends. I got you. Like, let's just sit down. I would love to help you guys out. When you build those true friendships and whatnot, you get a lot more out of it. And, you know, don't be afraid when people say no to either. Because oftentimes that no, I know I do this a lot. I'll tell people, like, I would love to meet with you. However, I know that the next quarter or whatnot, I am slammed. And so it's not going to be the best time for me to do it, because I know I'm going to have to, like, reschedule on you a lot or whatnot, or like, I'm hiring right now. My schedule is bonkers. But hey, give me like 3 weeks and then I'd love to meet with you. And, you know, we can sit down and figure out if it's something that we meet once a month, once every couple months or whatnot. So, you know, if someone says, hey, I'm not available right now, it's okay to ask, like, hey, can I follow up in 6 months and check in if that's changed? Like, just get to know people and see what comes of it. And like
100%.
Mike said, get to know a lot of different people. Because if you only talk to one person, you're going to get their perspective. But kind of like here, what is the contrast of opinions and experiences? Like, hopefully anybody watching or listening to this is going to be able to gain insight from each of us at all different kinds of levels of experience and life and whatnot. We say that here, whoever the OG veterans on the team are should also be able to learn from folks that are brand new to the team or to the industry, and vice versa. So you learn from anybody. Just be a sponge.
Someone that I know that never stops learning is Mike. And I know we could talk all day about all the new skills that you're learning, but if we take it all the way back to when you first started hand lettering, what inspired that? Did you see somebody else doing it? Said, I want to do that? Did you just start drawing words? Like, how does that come to be your thing?
For me, like, I still don't consider it like my thing, right? I don't feel like it's something that it's just part of my arsenal. Like, I want it to be a tool that I use to accomplish the goal, to solve the problem of whatever's presented, right? I just really enjoy it. I think there's something beautiful in letter forms. Ever since I've started studying type and how it's made and what the intricacies of it are, I look back at people that I thought were just bang up at it, like Ryan Hamrick, Bob Ewing, Dan Lee. There's so many friends of mine that are just like jam up with lettering, and that is like their thing. And I just wanted to add that to my arsenal. So it became like, let's just start practicing and trying it out. And I remember probably around, golly, this will date me, but it was probably like, I don't know, early 2000s. I was seeing Jeff Finley from Go Media was doing some cool lettering for this book he was writing. And I started seeing more lettering like coming into play with different people's work and submissions on things like Dribble and Instagram and whatnot. And I tried it. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get out my sketchbook and I'm going to just go ham and try to figure out how to do it. All right, I'm just going to start lettering some stuff, just see what happens. And so I was messing around with some different things and figuring out real quick. It was a lot harder. It was easy to do it on paper, but it was a lot harder to translate. Like the translation from paper to Illustrator or anything else was very tricky. And then so I would just start asking those folks. I just cold call people. I don't care. Like, if I like what you're doing and I think you have something I want to learn, I'm gonna call you on the phone. If I can get your number from someone, I'm gonna call you up, tell you who I am, tell you what I'm looking for, ask you to teach me. And if you say no, that's totally fine. Like, I expect to hear that a lot of times. I don't expect people to just say yes. But it goes back to building relationships. And if you've got a good rapport with these people already, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be more willing to help you get started in something new. And so I would just like, hey, Bob, show me how you did this. Hey, you know. I remember one time he was teaching a workshop at Creative South, and between him and a few other people, I picked up this, kind of method of like how to build letters in Illustrator. And so that knowledge can apply across the board. So like anything you put in your sketchbook, if you apply this method to it, you're going to be able to make it, it's going to translate easier to vector. Even though we have all these tools that'll help you do it a little easier. Like I still like to do it, point by point. And so that's kind of where it started. And now I just try to like keep it as something that plus it just fits it right into my like style preference. Like I love vintage, Southern, rustic, timeless, but it kind of has that aged vibe to things. And so a lot of times typography plays a huge role in that look, because that's what it was back when it was, a thing. So that's kind of where it started. I don't know if that answered your question or not.
What I love is I know exactly what you're talking about, because I remember you teaching me what you learned, where it's like the angles, either doing everything on like 90 or 45 degree pulls, like it changed everything. And I don't do lettering. I loved it. There's a period where like I really wanted to learn it, maybe get into it. And I remember it kind of like demystified a lot of stuff where I was like, I don't know how much I mess around with these points. I can't get them to work the way I see everybody else is able to. And then Mike sat down with me for, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes. And all of a sudden it was like, oh,
it makes sense.
This is clicking. Okay. I get it. Like this makes sense now. And so I know that's something we want to do here too, is like chat with people and really break down some of that work and help people understand, like, how did you actually do that? What was the trick that or figured out, or somebody taught you that, made this seem a lot easier? Because sometimes, honestly, we just overthink it, or we assume the way to do something is a lot more complicated.
Or we sit there in front of our computer for 4 hours and go, I've clicked everything on the screen and it still doesn't look how I want it to look. I wish someone who knew what they were doing would just come alongside and give those pointers that it may seem totally small to them, but it can change your whole design process.
I got you. Let's sit in one day and we'll go over lettering. Easy peasy.
Do it.
I want to say this. One of the other times that I learned about lettering was from an awesome friend who is no longer with us. Adeho wrote a small book, kind of like a short mag, about it's the clock method and lettering, and how that's the method to do it. And I don't know if you can get any more, but he was such a resource and such a inspiration to me, because his lettering was absolutely beautiful. And to be able to talk to him when he was around about his skill set made my journey into lettering a lot easier. And I'm so glad that I got that time with him. But yeah, between him, Bob Ewing, and several others, that's where I picked it up.
It's a skill that I think was around for a while and became, really important before we had the internet. And then it's kind of made a resurgence. I mean, I see tons of lettering stuff on Dribble.
That's so when we lose power.
I think it's kind of one of those like lost art forums.
When the grid goes down, I'll still have a job.
As web designers are screwed. No, but I think it's one of those things that it stands out because it has that like truly unique handmade feel. I remember it was about the time that I met Mike. Like I really romanticized the idea of wanting to get into like lettering and illustration, because it's so unique. And I think those are the things that, whether it's, extensions of a brand, or pulling, custom illustration in websites, branding products, etc., like that's the stuff that really stands out. And I think when you find people that can do those things and do them really well, and that's where it's important to get out at different events or network over the internet, where we've done that over the years. We've had clients that it's like, oh, I need a mural done. Well, we don't do murals, but we know a lot of people that do. And based on what you're looking for, we're going to recommend these people. You want someone to do some really cool lettering? If it's not our vibe or style, who could we recommend and bring into that? And so it's really cool when you're able to do that and pass work off to friends and help support each other. And, more often than not, that gets reciprocated back as well. And it's awesome to have that network of people to either learn from or do work alongside. It's hard when you're isolated and you just kind of live behind your own computer screen. It's really important to get out there.
This made my segue so easy. one of the best ways that you could get out and meet some other designers is Creative South, which our very own Mike Jones runs in Georgia. Tell us a little bit about why you think a conference of creatives is important to either invest in or why it should exist in general.
It is so important to build relationships with other creatives, but doing it face to face. I mean, just Peter and I's story about how we became friends and how our lives changed because of us knowing each other is literally full circle from job loss to now being at the same agency to like having our families be, in each other's lives. It's not just a work thing, right? It's doing life together. And to be able to do that is if you build community. And so if there's not one around you, find one that you can relate to and join and be a part of and get to know the people in that community, especially if it's relating to something you do for, 8 hours a day or longer. Have community behind that because you're going to be better at it because you have people that you can call on. You have people that can relate to what you're talking to. And that goes without saying across the board for anything in your life. If there's something you're into, find a community. It's going to be a better situation, a better experience if you've got community that's along the ride with you. And so I'm so blessed to be able to have so many people in my life that I've met through that conference and other conferences like it, that have just impacted me not only professionally, but personally, right? Like in every aspect of my life. That's why I think it's important. We need more FaceTime. We need to be in front of each other, having conversations, having meals, hugging necks, breaking bread, all the things that I value because it makes it just, the ride is better, if that makes sense.
It is. It is. And I mean, I can speak for myself. Going to Creative South, I hadn't met any of the Heyo team in person. And
you've been here for like a month, maybe.
Yeah. Like,
I think maybe 2 months. Yeah.
It was pretty soon after. And I remember, I'm hopping on a plane going from California to Georgia and going, I've never been to Georgia, first of all. So that's exciting, but it's, totally different. Speaking of contrasts, you talk about just totally different vibe and totally different weather. Luckily, it was not winter when I went. You might not have gotten me to come back. Anything below 60 degrees Fahrenheit is uncomfy for us Californians.
It's like two weeks out of the year.
It's just, I love to look at the cold. I don't want to be in it. I'd prefer to be warm. But yeah,
So,
I hopped on a plane.
Yeah, do you remember what happened when you got off the first plane?
So I was going to say, should we tell this story?
Yes, we should tell the story.
So my layover was in Denver and Peter had messaged and said like, hey, we're on the same flight from Denver to Atlanta. Like, we'll say hi to each other before. I'm like, great. I think he picked up like breakfast burritos and I was like, sweet, I'm starving. And I'm sitting at the gate and a guy died in the airport. And like
as we're like, hi, nice to meet you. And like paramedics are coming. Like, yeah, I think it was somebody really old and they had a heart attack or something.
Yeah.
But it was this like,
oh no,
hi, this is a celebratory moment. So
the saddest Heyo.
That was a start.
The saddest Heyo to ever Heyo.
That's wild.
It made for a memorable first meeting. I'll tell you that.
But no, it was really cool. Like I saw the other day, you responded in the Creative South Slack to somebody that was like, "Hey, I've never been. How would you describe this event? And like, what would you think of it?" And like, you embodied it perfectly because it's the same thing I always tell people is it's like, it's summer camp. It's go back and see your friends from last year. You stay up late every night. You make new friends, and then you're sad when you have to go home. And it's really cool getting to meet so many awesome people. And my circle of friends isn't really local. It's folks remote, and it's really folks that I've met at Creative South over years.
Yeah.
Those are the people that, I do life with. We've gone on trips together. We, play video games on nights and weekends and stuff. We hang out. And I mean, we've hired so many people from our team through that and other conferences over the years because it's so much easier when it's, oh, I know Iker. I've known him for years. He's an awesome dude. He's a great designer. Like, all right, you're in. I mean, we don't need to have more of a conversation than that. And so it's really cool to see that. We've seen that time and time again over the years of just people that we've met there, and it's really cool to see those. Like, I know it sounds cheesy, but like Mike and I have always said this. It's like you make family members. These aren't just passing by people or friends, and you really connect with folks, and it's really special. I know Mike and I love Creative South. It's also really nice when we get to go to other events and we are not running the event and we get to like just be present and enjoy and connect and not getting pulled away in the middle of conversations with people to go deal with something. It's really special to get out there and really encourage folks, whether you go to Creative South or you go to something else, go to stuff. Go to your local AIGA meetups or creative mornings or whatever you got near you. Start something. Andrew Hockrattle and I, we used to get designers together once a month at Disneyland, and we would just hang out in the park and chat about design and business and stuff and just have a good time and make friends. And it's cool to see those friendships that like started out of that and staying connected with people and just enjoy having a good time together.
No doubt.
I'm jealous of the Disneyland meetups.
That was
fun.
That's my two favorite things in the world is Disney and design. So I would have been all about that.
We did one or two Creative South planning retreats at Disneyland because Andrew and I were in Orange County. So it was just Mike that had to travel out. And we just sit there with like field notes in line and go through all the details of the event and just have a good time.
That was the
really, really fun way to do it.
The wildest planning trip.
Yeah.
Like,
I still remember, the goofy roller coaster. You were all
It's not okay. It's not okay. They don't build stuff for my size people, man. They don't build, like, it's not okay when you don't, like, stuff doesn't connect, right? Or you get thrown off of it because you're too big. They don't make stuff right. I don't know, but laughs abounding, like being in line with you guys and laughing and cutting up, and also actually coming away with like we actually did work while we were working, while we were hanging out.
So much done.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
I will say there is something about creatives, and I think you and I have talked about this, Mike. Like, I do my best work as a creative when I'm in interactions with other people. Like, I get my best ideas from conversations with others. I feel like I walk away more prepared and better planned ahead. Is that a creative people thing?
True collaboration.
It's gotta be, right?
Man, I think it goes for it's creativity, it's life. Like, you got to chat with people and bounce ideas off and have those like yes and conversations. And I don't know if it's by yourself, you're slamming your head against the keyboard or you're wondering if it's the right call on something. Again, if it's not design related, like find your circle of people that you hit up for different things. And I don't know. I feel like things only get better when you seek the counsel of others.
Yeah.
Agreed.
That's so good. I feel like we have covered quite the gamut today. We've covered internet connectivity issues. We've covered Disneyland needing to up their game and make sure that Mike Jones can ride some roller coasters. But we've covered some really important things about the journey of a designer. What do you think is the most important thing that someone listening to this, whether they're a designer, a web developer, just someone who stumbled upon this, what is something that they could take away from wherever they're at in the journey? Like, what's the thing that they should focus on to keep them going?
You go first.
I will go first, gladly. We touched on it quite a bit, but community, talking to other people, getting mentorship from people that aren't just going to go, yeah, it looks great, when they know it doesn't. I think that is going to grow you in whatever field you're in, whether you are an athlete, creative, wherever you're at. Getting people to be honest with you, kindly, but honest, is really going to just take your journey that much further.
Fudge balls. I forgot the question.
The question is, what would you say to someone, wherever they're at on the journey, whether it be in design or just in life? What is something that they can take away from today's episode and carry with them?
I'm not bridal.
Call AT&T before you record a podcast.
Shush it. Ah, don't make fun of my dial-up internet. Probably is community also, but I think the takeaway from the gist of the episode and the podcast itself is that we all come from different backgrounds. We all come from different places. We all have something to contribute that could contrast what the other person's view is, the other person's experience is. But if we are all take in bits and pieces of all those things, and put them in our arsenal, we're going to be much better people and much better designers, creatives. And I think that's the takeaway of that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to show y'all that, through the guests we have on, the topics we do, the hosts we have, that's the takeaway from this podcast.
Yeah. So I think to piggyback off of the community side, one of the things that I would add on to that is having an attitude where, it's no egos. It's also an openness and a willingness to just say, I don't know. And I need help with that answer, whether that's figuring out something about a tool that is, we use like Figma or Illustrator or whatnot. We work on a lot of complex projects here at AO. And something I always tell clients that like I look for in new hires and in team members, I want people that aren't afraid to say, I don't know. Even though you might have all this experience working on all kinds of different projects, we work on a lot of stuff in the Web3 space, healthcare, fintech, a lot of AI, machine learning things. It's totally normal for us to go, yeah, I don't understand what you just said. So I need you to, we joked around like the Michael Scott, like explain it to me like I'm 5 and really break it down for me. And in my opinion, that makes a much stronger person in life or a designer or developer to speak up and ask that question, because if you're not going to do that, then what usually happens, and I see this more often, in the past with like junior designers or whatnot, where they don't want to look as though they don't know the answer. And so instead they pretend. And that's probably the worst thing that can happen, because now they're hoping that they get it right. They're taking a shot in the dark. And now there's a chance they're wasting time, they're wasting, clients' money, and we want to be good stewards of that. And so I just want to speak up and say, hey, I don't get it. So walk me through it so I make sure I understand it. And that's why we're connected to clients in Slack and stuff like that. We meet with them regularly because we want to be able to reach out at any point in time if we're working on something. And, maybe we're planning out like illustrations that go with web copy. And it's like, I don't understand what the copy is really saying here. That might bring up a whole different set of issues of, copy might not be right, but like, how do we best, what kind of spot illustration or iconography or imagery would correctly pair with that, because we don't follow it. And it might be that it's confusing. It might also just be that we're not the target audience for this. And to somebody else, this will make total sense, but to us, we're unsure. And so, just having that ability to ask questions and reach out to people. And I mean, we do that all the time. I ask folks about business stuff, about design things, life stuff. I mean,
how else are you
find
gonna
people
learn
that you trust and know will, yeah, exactly. So yeah, on top of community, I think that all comes together, but don't be afraid to not ask. And I think I want to add to that of, for those listening or watching, let us know the stuff that you want us to chat about. Like, our goal is for these to feel more like those fireside conversations and, kind of there's no dumb questions, and let's just talk about different things from, ourselves, other members of our team, other guests that we're going to have on the show, and break things down and not have things so mystified or unknown or untouchable kind of thing. But just to say, hey, we don't know. So what's the different views and opinions that we have on this? How would you do it? How would I do it? How have you found success there? Because more often than not, most of the stuff that we do, design in the business, etc., is all reverse engineering a lot of things, like what went wrong, and then how did we find a solution that like that couldn't happen again.
Exactly.
And a lot of it is just talking to different people, and you grab the little nuggets that you like from each of them. So someone could be listening and be like, oh, I like Peter said this thing, but I like the way Mike did this, and I like the way Lexi said that, and you combine it. It's not any one of us has the,
and it's going to be
right
different from
answer.
everyone.
What's the right thing for you?
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm excited to have some different guests on the podcast, even just selfishly for my sake, to keep learning from other people, because there's a lot that I don't know.
Same.
And It's going to be really interesting to see what even the three of us can learn from some of the people we bring on.
Oh, no doubt.
We're
I've
all
been
still
doing-
learning. None of us have it figured out. None of us have mastered the things.
Not at all. I've been doing design
Are
probably.
you
long
about
as
to
you've
tell
been
us how long you've been doing this, Mike?
I'm just saying, probably as long as you've been alive. And I'm still learning, so I'm looking forward to doing
I
that
love it.
also. And remember, there's contrast in everything. So until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of creativity. Like and subscribe. Hit those buttons below. We can't wait to see you next time. See you guys.
Awesome. Bye.
All right.
Bye.